Welcome back to A Case for Cannabis Livestream. My name is Alfredo Matthew. I'm the founder of Working World LLC, also the co-founder and partner at ESO Ventures. And today we have an incredible show for you. It's really exciting. I got some of my favorite entrepreneurs here in the room, and we're going to have a tremendous conversation about entrepreneurship, what it takes to launch a small business, how to pivot during this age of COVID, and also where the cannabis industry is going. This series, Case for Cannabis, is sponsored by the California Community Colleges with their focus on workforce and career pathways. As you may know, or you may not, the cannabis industry is one of the fastest growing industries in the United States, potentially valued at over $20 billion. There are a lot of jobs to be had in this industry. There's a lot of money to be made in this industry, and yet there are no formal education pathways to work in this industry. Part of this series is about destigmatizing cannabis, normalizing it, showing it that it is an industry, a business, just like tobacco, just like cotton, just like every other commodity, and that there are incredible opportunities as cannabis increasingly gets legalized from state to state and potentially federally in 2021. So, over the course of the next year, yes, you heard it, year, we're going to be dropping film podcasts that you can catch on www.caseforcannabis.com. We're also going to be having these live stream conversations. Over 20 podcast interviews, 20 live stream interviews with entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, academics, scientists, cultivators, anyone who has a perspective on what is happening, where is this industry going, and how can you play a role in it. This is really about creating education and workforce and entrepreneurial pathways in this industry. Today, I am very, very proud to have three incredible entrepreneurs that I've known for over a year, but I'm meeting a couple of them for the first time today because of the strange circumstances we've all been living under. But we have with us CEO or founder of High Girl High, Miss Jazmin Villalta. She is an incredible creative entrepreneur based out of East Oakland. Wonderful stories that she's going to share about her journey and what she's working on. We also have a very experienced, knowledgeable, insightful entrepreneur, Robert Gilchrist, the CEO of Let's Grow Inside, vertical indoor gardening with a cannabis focus. He has pivoted, he's done amazing things with his business. Really excited to hear where he's going, what he's building. And our host for this live stream series, Mr. Erik Moreno, co-creator of Studio 405 Live. We're shooting this broadcast, we're streaming out of Studio 405 Live. This was an idea 6 months ago that I heard him pitching in ESO Ventures, and here we are, we're clients, we're working, and so excited to be here today, and we're gonna hear all of their stories. But first, I wanna give you a taste of our podcast, and we're gonna see a live stream, or we're gonna see a trailer video of Claudia Mercado, the CEO of Cali Bueno, as she shares why you're gonna fall in love with cannabis.
My goal is really to scale Cali Bueno to a point where we're profitable, and to also create a company that Latinos and people of color feel proud about, that they see themselves represented, and that they also know that Cali Bueno has their best interest. Definitely building a long-term relationship with our consumers is something that we really care about. We need to have an industry that is going to have diversity and that's going to have people that are value aligned, looking after our community. People are going to start to fall in love with cannabis, and that's going to create demand, and it's going to create a lot of opportunities. So people need to get excited about the opportunity and also the outcome. The outcome for me is bringing good product to market where people who have been put in jail or imprisoned for being in this industry can now be part of this industry legally and actually create generational wealth. And in the process, enjoy some good weed.
Check out the trailer. You can check out the full 40-minute interview on our website, www.caseforcannabis.com, also on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And she's an incredible Oakland business owner, Latina, doing incredible things. So please check that out. But I'm very thrilled and honored to have you here in the studio today. These three incredible entrepreneurs are all part of ESO Ventures, Eastside Oakland Ventures, the inaugural OG cohort. When we just piloted this, Ben Wanzo, Martha Hernandez, and myself, we wanted to create a business incubator for the community, specifically for D6 in Oakland, and we just put it out. These entrepreneurs responded to the call, and we started to build with the customer in mind. What do small business owners, what do entrepreneurs need? And we identified confidence, competence, and capital. We're working on those 3 C's so that business ownership can be a true economic generator for the community. And it's very exciting. First up, we have Ms. Jazmin Villalta, Hi Girl Hi founder and co-founder of Cocina del Corazon. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi everyone, it's so good to be here. As he mentioned, I am the founder of Hi Girl Hi, and most importantly, I'm a proud East Oakland native, and I like to call myself a creative entrepreneur. I have a small business that's food, sustainable food here in Oakland, and now Hi Girl Hi, which is a cannabis community for mindful women.
Very exciting. I want to learn all about this community you're building and how you got into it. We'll also have with us the incredible Robert Gilchrist, CEO of Let's Grow Inside. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yep, my name is Robert Gilchrist, and I am the founder and creator of Let's Grow Inside. It's a company that has a new and innovative way of teaching you over a 16-week virtual reality course how to grow quality cannabis in the privacy of your home. And I'm excited about talking about all the topics that we're going to talk about today.
Very cool. Really excited about, I'm an educator, so I love anything about new innovative ways that we can learn. Another new way to learn is what we're doing right here, live stream. And so we have with us the co-creator, together with Miss Cherie Adriazola of Studio 405 Live. Erik, thank you for welcoming us into your space, and tell us a little bit about how we got here.
Yeah, it's our pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us. I'm Erik Moreno. I am primarily I'm a sales rep in the cannabis. I do print and packaging for the cannabis space, but over the last year with my co-creator, I opened up and created this live stream digital media studio called Studio 405 Live, where we're hoping to create the opportunity for folks to create creative content that they can share with the world, talk about their artistic endeavors. Specific in the cannabis space, we want to give those folks an opportunity to share their stories, which is really lacking. You know, folks are doing things on social media, which are getting shut down, but we want to give them the platform to create creative content that they can then share individually on their websites and, you know, with their consumers and throughout the world. So that's why we're here. We're happy to be a part of A Case for Cannabis and what we're doing, and are excited to have this conversation today.
Fantastic. So we know each other because of ESO Ventures, right? We all have a common interest and passion for entrepreneurship, and we all love Oakland. Tell me a little bit about how you found ESO Ventures, and what are the benefits, what are the supports that you got from this network, from this community? Thinking a little bit about what do small businesses, what do entrepreneurs need when you're at the beginning stages of launching your venture? I'm going to start with you, Robert.
Sure. ESO Ventures, first of all, was a godsend. I had already had my business started, and then the pandemic hit. So I had to retool my business, and I was on the verge of, you know, my hands were in the air. A colleague of mine actually referred me to ESO Ventures. And the best thing I got out of it was just one-on-one coaching. I mean, the one-on-one coaching from professionals, from yourself, from Ben, from Martha, be able to help me kind of retool, help me with my strategic plan, help me with my marketing, help me kind of identify my niche and actually really get started and dive in deep with my business. And that's been a huge, huge, huge success for me.
All right, so one thing that all entrepreneurs need, because it's a lonely journey sometimes, is that community and that authentic feedback, that give and take, and that accountability that you get from having a business advisor. How about you, Ms. Jazmin? Everywhere I go, you're part of ICA, you're in the Chase Small Business, like you've been a part of a lot of different communities. What did you get out of ESO? Why are you still connected with us? And as a small business owner, what have you needed? What kind of supports have you needed?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I always like to joke that my superpower is my resourcefulness. And as a small business owner, you have to be resourceful to be able to go through a challenge like COVID. It wasn't the place to be, you know, having a food company that did large catering events during a pandemic. So for me, I had no other choice than to use my resources, and I was lucky enough for ESO Ventures to be a resource that came at the right time. And you know, being from East Oakland and seeing a video that says, hey, East Oakland residents, we are here for you, I immediately knew that ESO Ventures was for me, and it was where my business needed to go. And you know, you mentioned that entrepreneurship can be very lonely. I'm one of the only 30-year-old women that I know that has a small business. So for me, one of the biggest resources that ESO Ventures provided was a great network of support of other humans that look like me, that understood the similar experiences that I had being from East Oakland. So truthfully, ESO Ventures was exactly what I needed at the exact time, and I'm really grateful for that.
All right, well, we're grateful that you found us as well, because it's definitely reciprocal what we build with one another. And Erik, you were oftentimes the glue of the cohort, right? We had Robert, you missed out on Thursday nights. That's when we all got together. I mean, we didn't want to get off the phone. Artencia would be singing, right, in the background. I mean, we had literally, it was the highlight of my week. Every week was this coming together, sharing our wins, sharing our strategic, needs. Yeah. Why did you join ESO, and what did you get out of it, and what do you continue to get out of it? Because you continue to build community.
Right. Just to echo what Jazmin was saying, I really felt the universe opened up this opportunity for us, and no lie there, because I am lucky to have such a creative co-creator in Shri Adriazola. We worked together for over a year to kind of get things mapped out, create our foundation. And then in speaking to a friend, we just caught up. Hey, what are you doing? What you been up to? I was sharing with her the story, and it was Carrie Maltzby, who was one of the founders, one of the original brain trust, said you should check out ESO Ventures, and I did, and that was my introduction. And I really thought at the time that Carrie was instrumental in getting us involved. It turned out she learned that we were part of the cohorts after the fact. So, but what I pulled from it, and what I continue to pull, is a great network of folks. Like I said, I've been really blessed. I have a great creative co-creator, but as an entrepreneur, this journey is many times you're on your own. You're out there on your own, facing fears every day, facing challenges every day, and having that opportunity to meet with like-minded cohorts, like-minded entrepreneurs who are struggling just the same as you, and getting that support and giving that support has been huge. And we were part of a Thursday Group D cohort that, I just stumbled into that time slot. I wasn't sure I was going to stay with it, but we continue to meet, we continue to support each other, and we're continuing to be embedded into our community and ESO Ventures.
Beautiful, right? So that was, you all were part of the cohort back in fall of 2020. If you can believe it, fast forward, it's 9 months later.
Wow.
Where are your businesses now? That was like, if we can remember back dog years, right? Fall of 2020, that was before the darkest time of this whole period, right? That was before the Capitol riots. That was before the COVID numbers went through the roof. We had no idea what was going to happen in this country, right? There was all this kind of fear. If we think about through all the stress and all the trauma that we all collectively lived through, you were building a business through that time, and you've come out on the other side. Let's go back to you, Robert. Where is your business now? Let's grow inside. Did you do what you said you were going to do? Where's your business at, and what is your current struggle?
Well, first of all, being an entrepreneur is the most hellacious thing that I've ever done. I think that the challenges that we face with the pandemic, being at home, stuck inside, having to start from scratch all over again, were challenges that most people probably don't survive. That's why a lot of small businesses fail, because it takes a lot to survive. So when I started building grow houses for individuals that would take their spare bedroom, I would take their garage, their attic, their basement, and I converted into a garden, right? So come into your house and I would retrofit your electrical, your plumbing, put up special walls, and then the pandemic hit, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't want me in your house because of the COVID, and I didn't want to be in your house because of the COVID. So I had to retool my business, and that's where I kind of use my virtual reality concept to teach you. I have I have these goggles. So these goggles are virtual reality goggles. We send these to you. We drop ship everything. And can I tell about the business?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we do now is, instead of coming into your home, we drop ship all the equipment. So we'll drop ship LED lights that are low energy producers, charcoal filters, inline fans.
You figured out all of the equipment, everything that you need. You scoped it all out.
Yeah.
So you're basically making it easier for people to get started with their own indoor grow house.
To get started, and we send you the Oculus Quest goggles. These are virtual reality goggles. So when you put these on, you're immersed into a world where my studio, my garden is in front of you, so I teach you how to grow. That's kind of the challenge. Now, the challenge that I have with having all that equipment is I spend a lot of time, a lot of money putting all this together to be able to film in virtual reality. But now I've got to market it. And so I think that's the challenge. The first phase was building out the business, and the second phase was marketing it.
You now have a product to market. You've built out a 16 self-paced course modules, right? How to do this yourself.
Right.
You can drop ship all the equipment, but you need to bring those first 10 customers in, right?
Get it into
and so it's all about hitting milestones, because understanding your cash flow, you only have a certain amount of runway. One thing about all of our businesses is they're all bootstrap businesses. We're not talking about friends and family money, investors who are giving you this super long runway, this high amount of capital. You have a passion, you have an interest, you have a competence, and you have a product, but it takes all of these things in order to have a successful business. So you're now focused on go-to-market strategy. And so you need more support at this level of the game. How about you, Jazmin? You've got Cocina del Corazon, you have your Cocina del Corazon, that's going, but you also have High Grow High. Tell us about what that business is and how it's growing and developing.
Yeah, it was, COVID was really interesting in both levels, on both sides. Being a, like I said, creative entrepreneur, I was able to take my small business and pivot around COVID. It was really, it was difficult at first, but our main thing with the work that we do with Cocina del Corazon, which is feeding culturally relevant meals to the community, and we were able to pivot in a way that we could support our community during the time of crisis, especially when it comes to food disparities. And at the same time, it allowed me to step away from a business that I was no longer owning. I was working for the business. I say 8 days a week, because a lot of time it was double events in one day. back to back to back. And when you have a small business and you're a 2-person team who's, bootstrapping every step of the business, you think that that's the way to run the business, working every day.
Yeah.
And the pandemic just really allowed me to halt everything, because there is no other option but to halt, right?
Yeah.
Restructure in a way to help. And then the best part was that it allowed me to remove myself from being in the work every single day.
So one thing that I'm stressing a lot with new entrepreneurs is that in the beginning of your business, you should be focused on building systems, not sales.
Yes.
Your sale is going to feed you one day. Your system is going to feed you over a lifetime. So you are now doing more systematic thinking about your brand, thinking about what you really want to build and create. What is the community you're building with Hi Girl Hi? Who is this for, and what is it?
Yeah, and like I said, once I was able to learn that you have to create these systems, and I actually now have time to create the systems that I didn't have before, that's when I went back to my true passion. Food is definitely something I care about, but I wouldn't call it my main, the thing I go to sleep dreaming about. For me, that's Hi Girl Hi, and Hi Girl Hi is a cannabis community for mindful women. When the pandemic started and I felt so alone, as many of us did, right? I felt so alone, and I wanted to reach out and create a space for women like myself. I am a small business owner, I'm a good person, like I really am, and I happen to smoke a lot of cannabis. And I use it for my everyday routine. So for me, during the time of the pandemic, when we all felt so alone, my goal was to bring in women like myself so that we wouldn't be lonely and we would have each other, and that's Hi Girl Hi.
That is right. I mean, we all had to search and find our communities, and it did force us to go more online and to build our communities. So I'm very interested in how you're curating community, how you need to curate community. And Erik, through Studio 405 Live, you're creating a new process, a new way for people to reach a new audience in a completely different way than we have in the past. Tell us about where your business is now, what you're focused on, etc.
Yeah, what's great is at the end of our ESO, we had to put a presentation together at the end of our ventures, right? And at the 7th slide was our milestone. So Cherie and I went over that yesterday, and we're just looking at where we are, where we come from, and as many entrepreneurs can attest, that milestone can be much different from what you started out as your plan. So we had to reconfigure and reevaluate what we're doing and set new milestones, but we're moving along. Our business we're here today. We're launching a case for cannabis through here. One of the main things that we wanted to do is create an opportunity for folks to come into the studio, particularly in the cannabis space, and do product launches here, share your story about your business, your journey. Typically in the past, a product launch for a cannabis entrepreneur would be they would go set up a table at a dispensary, do an activation. Early on, they could give a sample. No longer can they do that sample. You can say, yeah, you're interested in our product, go buy it at the counter. So the thought process here is having this space as a live stream opportunity for cannabis business to come in, talk about their new product launches, talk about what's going on with their business, and kind of share content with folks about what's happening, and also share education, because education is a huge aspect that's missing from the cannabis conversation.
Yeah. So as you're talking, and as I'm thinking about what we all have in common, one of the ethoses that Martha and I have been coming up with is this idea of Shop ESO. How do we become one another's customers? How, as small business owners, do we kind of join forces and kind of align audiences to grow? And I could see tremendous possible synergy happening right here between the four of us, and there's a couple other incredible cannabis entrepreneurs that are part of the ESO cohorts: Chris Wakefield, Brown Sugar Botanicals, Ronnie West, SF Canna, and the Sixth Man, who couldn't be live with us in the studio today, but we know that we're going to be celebrating them and finding ways to elevate their stories. But how do we join forces? Because the cannabis industry is not an easy industry to be profitable and successful in. So let's talk a little bit about your journeys in this industry and where you see this industry going. Back to you, Jazmin. When we first started talking, you're truly coming to this with a real sense of authenticity about who you are, about women, about cannabis. What does it mean that you're creating a space for women in cannabis?
Yeah, and I'll even go deeper to say it's not just a space for women, it's a space for mindful women in cannabis. So what I mean by that is creating a space, and by space I mean content. You know, I refer to High Grow High as my community, but really the idea is to build content that women can relate to, and content that can educate, as we've been talking about, educate women to understand that cannabis can be something that's beneficial for them, something they can incorporate to their everyday routines to live a more mindful and meaningful life, and to destigmatize cannabis in general, specifically for women. Because I feel like that's where like there's a break in between that. It's been legalized in many places, but it hasn't been completely destigmatized. So that is my goal with High Grow High and the content that I'm providing for women.
You've seen the benefits of cannabis in your own life. I've heard stories of many women and other people sharing how it's helped them with depression or with a health situation or others, but yet in common society, in the mainstream, cannabis is still this, what did you call it? It's certified as
it's a Schedule 1 drug.
A Schedule 1 drug. What has that stigmatization done to this plant? And how do you think it's holding back society, yourselves, others from getting the full benefits? What do you think, Robert?
Well, in 1936, they had a movie called Reefer Madness. So it was a propaganda film. It was right around the tail end of Prohibition, and it was kind of to label it as this bad drug that'll drive you crazy. That really hasn't gone away. I mean, it being classified as a Schedule 1 drug with heroin, it's not even, cocaine is a Schedule 2 drug. So what they're basically saying is that you can't research it, there's no medicinal benefits to cannabis, which we all know that that's not true, right?
Yeah.
So the challenge is overcoming that stigma of those who are recreational smokers, taking the stigma away, making it seem like it's a bad thing to do when it's actually got medical benefits. For those of people that need it for medicinal uses, right? And then even for people who want to turn this into a first or a second income, creating an industry out of that, we've got to kind of take away all the negativity of that and bring out the positivity. That's why we do what we do.
And let's grow inside the target market. One of the demographics, right? One demographic is folks who just smoke it recreationally. If you don't want to spend $150 a month, you could grow it yourself and you can control it. But it's also a side hustle. It's a second income if you've got the space.
Or a first.
Or a first income, right? And you're actually going to show people how to do that. By criminalizing it, by stigmatizing it, we are not allowing access for people to do something that is truly possible.
And let's not forget those who need it for medicinal aspects, right? For those that have an ailment that want to treat, whether it's cancer, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's PTSD, whether it's stress and anxiety, those are all treatable with cannabis. So we have to turn the table and expose the positive benefits of this.
So there's going to have to be some storytelling, right?
Absolutely.
And that's part of what this series is about. That's why the California community colleges are getting behind this, which is not an easy thing for a state higher education system to do, is basically taking a risk saying that the winds are changing. We actually need to be ahead of the wind. As the industry is changing, if higher education does not get in line, the community is going to be left behind. What are you seeing, Erik? How is this industry changing? It's changed so much in the last 5 years. It's changed in the last year. How is this industry changing?
Yeah, I'll be happy to address it. But before I do, I want to just touch on what we're just talking about. Also the mental condition that folks suffer in this country, from anxiety to depression. Those are also medicinal benefits that have a huge impact for folks. And I can just tell from personal experience, I started smoking cannabis in 8th grade. And during that time...
I can picture you
yeah,
in the 8th grade.
My hair was a little longer, a little thinner, but a little shorter. But yeah, and I didn't realize until I got further embedded in the cannabis community, doing print and packaging with some of the brands that I work with, of those medical benefits or those mental benefits. I was doing it to relieve anxiety that I was feeling. I was a very angry young boy, and the cannabis really helped me. I noticed it at the time, and I felt better when I was imbibing cannabis, smoking cannabis. And it wasn't until years later that I realized, man, I was really feeding my need. I was, an anxious kid. I had anger management issues, and those all helped me, that I come to realize. So that's why the plant means so much to me. I understood those medicinal benefits before it was even an opportunity. I think that has a lot to do with my culture. My grandmother had a little lotion she rubbed on her joints. My mom was a healthcare professional, but she was a cannabis advocate. Pinching her bag back in the day, sorry, Mom. But that's where it started for me. But now where I see things, I know we have to change the narrative behind cannabis, because I know, 50 to 100 cannabis entrepreneurs, and none of them are lazy stoner. They are at the top of their game, the peak of their performance, and they use cannabis to help support that. And it is a narrative that has been criminalized in this country for almost 100 years, that we're switching the narrative on.
And 2 weeks ago, we were right here in the studio talking with Javier Armas, and one of the light bulbs that came off for me, and I know this light bulb was there, but it's like hitting home. It's been criminalized. 97% of the folks who have been incarcerated or paid the price, Black, Latino, and as this gets legalized, who is going to have access to this industry? Are all of the folks who have been criminalized going to have a shot? Is there going to be an opportunity for redemption, or is there going to be a second war on drugs? That is the war on the folks who can't afford to join the legal formal markets. That's another reason why the California community colleges and higher education need to get involved to create that access, right?
Yeah.
You want to speak to that?
You had talked about the schools of higher learning. The colleges, they have to be the pioneers, right? They have to get behind this to help desensitize the stigma that's going against it, because you think about, why is this labeled as it's classified as a Schedule I drug, right? But then you look at the war on drugs, and you look at who is being victimized by this war on drugs. It's Black and brown people. So the institutions of higher learning can take a stance, and they can help kind of switch that around so that there's equity. Because instead of these people, the Black and brown people, being preyed, P-R-E-Y, preyed upon, they can get equity into this industry, and they can help themselves get a leg up, and then they can start creating wealth instead of being penalized and being the ones that are help pushing this up, so that some of these big, large institutions can profit, like they have done with all the other industries. And keep in mind, this is an industry that is unlike any other. It's being created as we speak. The legislation right now is being written. I mean, everything that's the territories are being carved out.
Folks have a shot.
Right
this
now.
is not a well-defined industry. No one knows how you're really going to be profitable and make money. A tech person can come in and blow all this money on billboards and do all this, and the industry can go in another direction. So the more folks that have a seat at the table, the more folks are going to have an opportunity to really get an ownership stake in this industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love to add to that. I'm so proud to be from Oakland, and a lot of that pride comes from owning our city, right? Like, we should have a piece of the puzzle. We should have a piece of Oakland as small business owners, as entrepreneurs from Oakland. And if we have to build what we want in our own city, and why not it be us, building something that is done right, or it's done with more people in mind, people that look like ourselves, people that understand what it's like to, go through all the obstacles that happen when you're from a place like East Oakland or just Oakland. So for me, that's key, is having stake and ownership in the cannabis industry, because, you know, I've been to Amsterdam twice, and Oakland is the closest to Amsterdam I've ever seen in any place in the world. So
we started this series in Oakland on purpose, right? We literally, our first interview was with David Johnson, the president of Merritt College, who was sharing, right? Oakland has a competitive advantage, right? We're focused a lot of these initial stories on Oakland. We're going to be telling stories from around California, hopefully around the world, right? Getting lots of different perspectives. But Oakland has something unique. What I'm learning is that the equity programs are not functioning that well. Not here, not anywhere else. What do you think, what needs to change, either on the policy side, on the business side? Like, what do you need in order to grow your business in this very challenging, dynamic industry?
Capital is huge when you're a small business, period. But when you're in the cannabis industry, you can't just go into the bank and say, I want to get a loan for my cannabis business. So we need capital. And keep in mind, the city of Oakland will benefit, right? Because we're tax-paying businesses that will generate income for the city. We need help. We need more capital. We need more exposure to this industry overall, from the colleges, from the city, from the county, from the state. I want the president, the vice president to keep the promises that they made. So yeah, we just got more exposure, more capital, more assistance, more help.
I love, and Robert, we've been having many conversations. You've always said, I want a hand up, not a handout.
Right.
We're very good at giving one-off stimulus checks, feeding people, right? Giving people a place to stay when you're homeless. We're not very good about giving people access to wealth creation. And that's really how you change these dynamics and this cycle. To you, Erik, because we've been doing this a lot, what do you think, what do you need, what do you see other folks need in order to get access to this industry?
So what we're trying to do at Studio 405 Live is create that opportunity to share those experiences from the folks that are doing the work, and understanding what that journey entails, understanding every cannabis brand that I work with, there's a compelling story behind why they're in this business. And bottom line, it's not a margin thing. They're not making a lot of money. They are evangelists about this plant and this culture, and are committed to moving it forward. I have gone through painstaking results to kind of work with the right folks. I want to work with folks who are good advocates for the industry, who are interested in pushing it forward, who are doing things the right way. And seeing them struggle through this, knowing that they're doing the right thing and pushing this forward, has been a real challenge for me looking in. So that's why I created this Studio 405 Live with my partner, to give them that opportunity, that leg up, to share not only their journey, but education around this plant, which is so missing from this community. That's why I'm so passionate about this case for cannabis and pushing things forward through the community colleges. Such a big need, along with capital for sure, but also the opportunity to share their experience and education with folks was going to make a big difference.
So I'm hearing capital, and I'm hearing marketing, right? Access to storytelling. What do you think, Jazmin?
I agree with both. Definitely, the capital part is very important. As Robert mentioned, it's so difficult to just walk up to any bank to receive any loan for a cannabis business, but also just support from the city that we're in. Like you having that support, and it starts with what we're doing now, like supporting and saying like, hey, this is okay, let's normalize it, and having the support and having people at a higher level in the city say like, this is now normal, is the key.
That's the message to you, Councilmember Taylor, right? So it's like, we know, right, Councilmember Taylor has been very involved with ESO Ventures. He really helped to bring it to the table. Merritt College, Councilmember Taylor from D6. but you're saying we need the council members, we need Mayor Schaaf, we need our elected officials to do more, because there are a lot of folks in this industry who are struggling in this industry. There's a lot of small business owners, a lot of sole proprietors running businesses out of their homes, but they're not making a real living. They're not paying the taxes because it's too tough. If the city can provide more supports, if the higher education system can provide more supports, we're going to have thriving businesses, whether they're cannabis businesses, small businesses, they're going to be paying taxes, and it's going to create that flywheel, right? Those positive reinforcements. And that's what we need from the city. In your dream of all dreams, where are you 5 years from now? Where are you taking this? You're doing the hard work today, you're building, you're bootstrapping. What is the payoff 5 years from now? Where is Oakland? Where is Let's Grow Inside?
Let's Grow Inside is going to be a business 5 years from now that is helping generate that revenue for the city. It's all over the country and everybody, because cannabis is getting more popular by the day. People are growing. Now every state, as soon as it turns legal, somebody wants to learn about this plant. So my company wants to be there to help you grow, and I want those revenue dollars coming right here into the city of Oakland. So help us help you. That's where I want to be.
And what are you doing with this curriculum that you're building? You just launched 16 modules.
Sure.
There is no formal higher education pathways. What could you do in the higher education space?
I would love to be partnering with some of these institutions so I could teach the curriculum to students. They're going to learn it either way. So why not be the pioneer and be ahead of it, some of these colleges, and just let that curriculum easily translate right into the classroom and help grow.
Higher education pathways need to hire folks like these three entrepreneurs right here who have lived experience, who can basically be career technical education educators in this industry. That's very exciting. I'm excited for you.
Be part of the winning team.
Be a part of that winning team. How about you, Erik? 5 years from now, what is Studio 405 Live going to grow into? What role are you going to be playing?
So 5 years from now, we're going to be here. We're going to continue to support our community, continue to push folks in the cannabis industry and give them opportunities to be creative. But even bigger still, one of the things that I know and can see for Oakland in 5 years is the cannabis community this is going to be the hub. Oakland and the Bay Area, we've been well known for the level of cannabis we produce, and the entrepreneurs that come from here, I want to see them continue to grow. I want to see their education series come to light. I want them to really, as the stalwarts and the stewards of this industry, lead that charge and share their stories and make a big impact on the narrative that exists. I can tell you in 5 years from now, Oakland is going to have a different impression of the cannabis space. I mean, we already have a great impression, but we're gonna lead the charge throughout not only California, but the United States.
You can say the world, right? I mean, Mexico's legalizing cannabis. A lot of places are. And Northern California, Oakland, the Bay Area, is going to play a leading role in this industry for a long time to come. High Girl High, where are you taking this? What role are you going to be playing, Jazmin?
Yeah, 5 years from now, High Girl High will have a strong community of women that support my vision for cannabis. So through the content I create, through the relationship I create with all of my community members and viewers, I want to then be able to develop a brand that's here in Oakland, that is inclusive to all things cannabis wellness, potentially a topical line, cannabis flower, things that I already use for my everyday wellness through cannabis. I want to be able to provide the same things that I use for my wellness to other women and people in Oakland. And like Robert said, I want to keep the economy local. I want to create jobs for women and just people in my community, and it's gonna have to happen through the destigmatizing cannabis. So.
All right. Well, it's already happening, right? What we're talking about is already happening. We just did a survey with ESO, and we found out that the 38 entrepreneurs that we've worked with have already created 46 jobs, right? 46 jobs have been created. When we look at the revenue that people had in 2020 versus 2021, potentially like 270% profit growth, right? There is incredible talent, hustle, potential right here. We just need to invest in it. So if someone wants to invest in you, what is your call to action? Our final piece here, and we're going to start with you, Jazmin. How can people get involved with High Girl High, with all of the incredible things you have going on?
Yeah, I would love for you to come check out my website, www.highgirlhigh.com, and to join my mailing list. Cannabis, as Erik mentioned, content around cannabis is censored and blocked, and my biggest fear is losing the contact with amazing people that care for what I do. So by joining my mailing list, we will be connected, and then you will be able to know when I launch my first season of High Girl High.
Well, we are building our mailing list, and we will definitely be promoting and sharing out that season as soon as it's available. Robert, how can people get involved? What can they do?
Let'sGrowInside.com. Let'sGrowInside.com. And just like Jazmin had mentioned, leave a feedback, because our content is hard already to get out there with its cannabis. Leave some feedback. Let us know we're doing something right, and just support us in any way you can.
But if you want to grow, build an indoor grow house, you have everything you need for someone to get started.
Everything from seed to harvest will get you there. Let us show you the way. Let'sGrowInside.com.
Beautiful. And Erik, final kind of call to action. What can folks do to stay involved?
Yeah, so if you're interested in checking out the studio, you can contact us at studio405live.com. All the media channels, social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you can reach us there. If you have any need to create creative content for your cannabis business, as a musician, as an artist, please reach out, and we'd love to help you create that content.
All right. Well, this has been a beautiful conversation with the three of you. I believe in you tremendously. Our time together is not done. We're just at the beginning of this journey, because that capital piece we are working on, that is really the missing linchpin to this whole, to making entrepreneurship real. We got to make capital. So we are working on that, and we'll have more news on that. But it's been a pleasure to have you with us today. And if you want to see what this studio actually looks like, check out this trailer with David Ume, the CEO of High Speed Technologies, as we shot a podcast interview here a few months ago. And this is the new trailer and new podcast coming on the site, launching next week. Without further ado, David Ume.
Every time the game changed, I changed with it. I had to be like a mirror to the game itself, and knowing that no one can trick me out of my position, that we deserve to be here. I think just being open to trying new things, to experimenting, being open to failing and failing fast, being open is the key to opening doors. You cannot get caught up in what was or what should be. You have to be where you are right now. That is literally the key to success. And I hate that it sounds so simple. I really hate that, but it's the truth. I mean, I've had bank accounts closed, I've had processing pulled, I've had packages lost. I mean, you name it, I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I always wake up the next morning with a smile on my face, because I knew as a black man I was gonna have to do twice as much to get just half of what the next person did. So I think that's been a big driving point of my success, I'm not gonna lie. Pain is beauty. Rejection is sexy.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today for the third live stream in our series with the ESO Ventures Cannabis Entrepreneurs. That right there was David Ume, CEO of High Speed Technologies. Catch that interview and all of the other interviews at caseforcannabis.com. I always want to close with just my takeaways, and I have 3. Number 1, most importantly, is authenticity. The reason why I believe in them, the reason why I believe in the opportunity of entrepreneurs is the authenticity that they bring to the table. As many of them shared, they're not doing looking at the P&L statement. They're not doing this to cash out and exit. They're doing this because they believe in their business. They have a passion for this plant, and they're going to have the resiliency to build a tremendous, sustainable business. Authenticity is key. Number 2, we cannot forget about capital. The financial system is broken. It is not reaching the millions of Americans who could benefit from entrepreneurship. Those PPP loans, California Rebuild Fund is not reaching the entrepreneurs who need real access to affordable capital. It's not reaching them. The CDFIs are not going to work with you unless you have $100,000 in revenue, unless you have a proven business model. That is not okay. And if you're a cannabis entrepreneur, you can't even access those resources. Where are folks supposed to go to move from the informal to the legal formal economy if they don't have access to financing? Someone needs to create this pathway, and that's my 3rd lesson. Higher education. California higher education, this is your industry. Governor Newsom, this is your industry. You are putting incredible resources into clean electric vehicles. Why not make an investment in cannabis? Think of the economic benefits if we help thousands upon thousands of small entrepreneurs move from the informal to the formal economy. Think about the workforce opportunities, think about the growth in tax revenue, and think about the redemption that is going to come when we turn and make that investment in Black and brown communities that have been disparaged so long by the war on drugs. There's a lot of work to do. We're going to be keeping an eye on it, and we have more great interviews coming. We're really thrilled that you joined us today. Be back in 2 weeks on June 16th for our final episode. We're going to have some special guests. We're going to have some fireworks. We're going to think it out. We're closing out season 1 of A Case for Cannabis, these 9 episodes, taking a little hiatus, and then we will be back in August with season 2. The seasons are already set. The community colleges have already made their investment. We got 20 podcasts filmed, 20 live streams. If you have an idea for where you want this podcast series to go, please reach out to me. Please reach out to any of our executive producers. We would love to hear from you, and we're going to be looking to hear from great stories of entrepreneurs and scientists and cultivators and politicians just like you. Without further ado, my name is Alfredo Matthew. It's been a pleasure. We will see you soon. Take care.